Chapter 2: The Truth About Prospecting. Get fit, get healthy, and live forever, all without exercise and eating whatever you want. It's marketing messages like these that are finally raising red flags and reinforcing the old adage, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. But not for real estate agents. For some reason, when we enter into the real estate business, all common sense goes out the window. Marketers are screaming from the mountaintop, you don't have to prospect. Cold calling is dead. And it's exactly what we want to hear. These companies promise to let us off the hook by selling their new gadget or technology that will cause us to reach the success of our dreams, all without ever having to do the hard work of prospecting or talking to people. I know, it's crazy, but we buy it every day. These companies profit billions of dollars every year by targeting the weak. Easy is the world's greatest marketing strategy, and we buy it, knowing it's too good to be true and knowing we're buying from someone who has never succeeded in the real estate business themselves. In the world of real estate sales, there are low-producing agents, average producers selling 6 to 8 homes a year, and then top producers who are responsible for 80% of the sales. Agents in the top 20% prospect consistently, without excuse and without exception, while the bottom 80% chases shiny objects. You don't have to take my word for it. Go meet with any top producer in any company, in any market around the world, and they will all tell you the same thing. Prospecting and lead generation is the most important factor in determining whether you will be successful or not. What is prospecting? Prospecting is not cold calling. More on that later. Prospecting is the simple act of proactively seeking out new business. Although some try to overcomplicate it, it's no mystery why 80% of all real estate agents end up failing in their first year. It's not because of the market, the company that they're with, their broker, their manager, bad leads, the time of year, not knowing what to do. It's none of those. Real estate agents fail simply due to an empty sales pipeline. Why is their pipeline empty? You guessed it. They fail to prospect consistently. Why real estate agents don't prospect? As I mentioned in the introduction, most untrained real estate agents are in a constant state of moral dilemma about being in sales. They want to help people, but at the same time, they can't bring themselves to accept the fact that to succeed in real estate sales, they must be willing to interrupt prospects daily. If you think for 1 second that you can sit back and wait for prospects to call you, you're wrong. If that was the case, the failure rate in real estate would be almost insignificant. But that's not the case. You and I both know this is not how it works. If you're going to win, you're going to have to play offense and proactively contact your prospects, knowing damn well they are not sitting around waiting for you to call. In my research, I found 4 main reasons why real estate agents don't prospect. Number 1, fear of rejection and embarrassment. For many, the fear of rejection is too overwhelming to handle. Therefore, they avoid the activity of prospecting altogether. We are social creatures by nature, connected with others from birth. From childhood, the need for acceptance, approval, affirmation, attention, and positive regard from our parents and others are some of the most fundamental psychological needs. Not having these needs met in one's life results in the unpleasant experience of rejection, and ultimately the fear and sensitivity to situations that present this risk. When we prospect, we take a huge emotional risk. We don't know how the prospect will respond. Will they yell at me? Will they hang up on me? We refuse to find out. The risk of embarrassment and rejection is too great. Many would rather risk their life than to make prospecting phone calls. I can't recall where I first heard it, but there's a story about a military recruiter who first built his career in the Marines and made a name for himself on the battlefield. Facing death almost every day was normal for him, and something he did without fear or hesitation. After returning from war, he took a position in the military as a recruiter. On his first day out of training, his mission was to contact 25 potential recruits. He was given a list of recent high school graduates who showed interest in the military, and he was asked to call them. The Marine was paralyzed by fear. He could not bring himself to make one prospecting phone call because his fear of rejection was too much for him to handle. This Marine, who stood 6 feet 4 inches and weighed in at 235 pounds, who had previously risked his life daily, was too scared to make prospecting calls to 18-year-old high school students and was reassigned. The fear of rejection is real. This book will show you how to overcome that fear. Number 2, addiction to instant gratification. The second reason real estate agents don't prospect is thanks in part to social media, Amazon, and Netflix. We have become addicted to the instant gratification these platforms provide. Why? Dopamine, and a lot of it. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter, a chemical in the brain that is released to make us feel pleasure and to keep us motivated. Dopamine causes you to want, desire, seek out, and satisfy your cravings. Activities that release large amounts of dopamine become things we're most addicted to. Scrolling on social media, binge watching television shows, eating sugar, dousing your food in sauces, sex, watching porn, and doing drugs are just a few of these addictions. The more we participate in activities that release large quantities of dopamine, the higher our dopamine tolerances becomes, increasing the amount required to feel pleasure. This is why people who consume alcohol on a regular basis require large amounts of alcohol to get drunk, whereas someone who rarely drinks will get drunk after just one drink. This is how the scientists hired by social media companies have designed their platforms. Everything on social media is built to get you hooked. Every time you get that notification, you look to see what it is. This activity gives you an instant hit of dopamine. The same thing happens when someone likes or comments on your social media post. The problem with increased dopamine tolerance is that activities that don't release as much dopamine don't interest you any longer. They seem boring and become much more difficult to do. This is why people would rather scroll on social media than go to the gym. It's not just you, it's all humans. Activities that offer instant results release a higher level of dopamine, whereas activities that don't offer results right away offer very little. That's right, the speed with which you derive pleasure from an activity is purely a function of dopamine, and the same goes for the opposite. Activities that offer very little instant gratification result in very little dopamine, making these activities less desirable. So, when we look at the activity of prospecting, it's boring, mundane, filled with the same pain-wrenching rejection and offers no immediate payoff. This is why so many real estate agents struggle to consistently prospect. But the long-term payoff from prospecting will lift your business, increase your income, and ultimately improve your life. Like most things in life, things that bring pleasure to you now are likely to cause pain later, and things that cause pain now will bring you pleasure in the future. Take exercise, for example. No one likes waking up early and going to the gym. It's early, it's painful, and there's no immediate payoff. Only for those who commit to a life of health and fitness long term will there be a massive payoff in the future. The same is true for those who choose short-term pleasure by sleeping in and eating donuts, because they will ultimately pay the price in the long term. Later in this book, I'll teach you how to push through the pain and help you create a new habit of daily prospecting. But for now, my recommendation is to go on a dopamine detox. Start to limit activities that offer instant gratification so that your dopamine tolerance is reduced. This way, when you do things that seem hard to you right now, like prospecting, they will offer more enjoyment. Number 3, being easily distracted. The opposite of distraction is focus. Being a great prospector requires insane amounts of focus and discipline. Now that you have a new awareness around why it's so hard to prospect consistently, your mind will be looking for ways to distract you while you're prospecting. Prospecting is an activity that causes most people pain and anxiety, and so they unconsciously look for distractions depending on their level of dopamine addiction. Rarely do agents admit it, but the truth is that most of us are actually seeking out distraction. Just hear me out. Distractions during prospecting let us off the hook and give us a reason to stop prospecting. We then turn around and want to make excuses why we can't hit our daily prospecting goals because of all the distractions, when in fact, we are the distraction. Let me give you an example that I'm willing to bet you experience every day. As you're prospecting, your phone rings, which it shouldn't because your phone should be on Do Not Disturb during your prospecting time block. But nonetheless, it's a client you're currently working with. Most untrained agents pick up the phone immediately and they justify this behavior as giving great client service and then classify this as a distraction. In reality, this is exactly what the agent was hoping for. Instead of letting the call go to voicemail like other professionals would do, the agent unconsciously rationalizes this decision as a legitimate excuse to stop prospecting. It's interesting when you stop to think about this. Imagine you're undergoing brain surgery. What if all of a sudden the phone rings in the operation room and the doctor abruptly stops what he's doing and picks up a call because it could be a patient that has a question? Now, let's be real. I think you would agree that this is absurd and would never happen in real life. But this is the type of behavior that happens all of the time in the real estate industry. Current clients are calling me. Vendors need me. My deal is blowing up. People are constantly knocking at my door. Are all reasons I hear almost every day from agents as to why they can't prospect. It's not that these reasons are not important, but I want you to think about this from a different angle. When a current client sends you a text message during the time you've blocked out for prospecting and you answer the text, what was the real distraction? Be honest. First, it was your cell phone that was present in your prospecting station, which it should not be. More on that later. And second, it was you who responded to the text. Both of these were a byproduct of your decisions. I would make the argument that you are your biggest distraction. Every time the phone rings or someone knocks on the door, you have a choice how you'll respond. Keep in mind, your subconscious wants you to answer the phone call, answer the text, respond to the person at your door, anything to get a dopamine hit. Be aware of this and start building your no power. This means you'll want to start saying no to things that you're used to saying yes to now. The quick run to Starbucks with a colleague, the quick text response, the quick got a minute conversations that always seem to take more than a minute. Start saying no. You also want to build a prospecting station that blocks external distractions. No media at all. And if you can, make your prospecting calls in an environment that promotes productivity. Do not make prospecting calls around people who don't prospect. It's too tempting to stop prospecting to see what they're doing, and it's easy for you to fall victim to being judged by non-prospectors. If you have to prospect from your office and don't have a private office, get a sign that says, "Do not disturb, prospecting in session." If you have to use your cell phone to make your calls, put it on Do Not Disturb so phone calls and text messages won't tempt you. Number 4, creative avoidance. Many real estate agents convince themselves that there are tasks in their real estate business that take priority over prospecting. Let me be clear and blunt. There's nothing more important in your business than prospecting. Nothing. Many real estate agents are plagued with the what if syndrome. They often say things like, I need to work on my website because what if a prospect looks me up online? Or I need to work on my branding because what if I actually set an appointment with the prospect? I need to make a great first impression with my logo, presentation folders, and business cards. And there are a million other things that real estate agents deem necessary before they can actually start prospecting. Even if an agent procrastinates for months, building their perfect website, designing the sexiest business cards, and finally gets to the point where they're about to make their calls, they spend hours researching the lead before ever making the call. They do anything to avoid the actual work. This is called creative avoidance. It's not that having a nice website or having your branding look good isn't important. It's just that these should not take priority over prospecting. These creative tasks should help support your prospecting, but worked on only after prospecting commitments have been met. Being a successful real estate agent has much more to do with your skills than what your website looks like or how fancy your logo is. Don't believe me? I'll prove it. My best year as a real estate salesperson was in 2014 when I sold over 100 homes and earned over $600,000 in commission. The best part? I did this with no website, no social media pages, and no branding whatsoever. I did it through hard work, consistent prospecting, and crafting my skills as a salesperson. Never once did I have a prospect tell me the reason they're not doing business with me was because I didn't have a sexy website. Yet, real estate agents are obsessed with doing everything in their business but prospecting. Let's get the record straight. Your job as a real estate agent is to prospect for new business. If you want to build websites or design logos, change your career. Because believe me when I tell you, if you don't prospect and spend your time avoiding it, you won't have a choice. If you don't prospect, you're selfish. Most real estate agents will tell you the same thing when it comes to servicing their clients. When they have a client, they do everything they can to give that client a great experience. Their motivation to do so makes sense. To keep the client long term and to get the client to give them referrals. But this is the easy part. The problem for most real estate agents isn't client service. It's the fact that they don't have enough clients to serve in the first place. If you're like most, you would probably make the case that if a prospect decides to do business with you, they will have a great experience. Therefore, if you don't prospect, you're selfish. If you allow fear to hold you back from picking up the phone to call prospects who you already know need your help, you're selfish, or worse yet, full of shit. Maybe you don't give great service to your clients or get your clients the results you promise. For most, though, I don't think this is the case. It's more likely that you don't prospect because of your fear. Allow this new perspective to help you build a new habit of daily prospecting. Tell yourself, there are people out there who need my help, and if I don't call them, a competitor who's not as good as me will. The learning is in the doing. Just do it. The famous Nike slogan might be the best advice ever given. For centuries, society has suggested that we learn best by obtaining new information. The most successful people on the planet would disagree, and so would I. Knowledge is power is a lie that's been told for years. Information has no value without implementation. Have you ever thought about this? Doctors spend an average of 14 years learning about the human body before they ever become a fully licensed practitioner. Doctors arguably know more about health and the human body than anyone else on earth. But according to the Physicians' Health Study, research shows that nearly 40% of the world's physicians are overweight and unhealthy. Doesn't this strike you to be a bit odd? This is concrete evidence that just because a person knows what to do does not mean they will do it. The learning is in the doing. Although this book will teach you prospecting tactics and strategies that will make selling easy and fun, it will mean nothing if you don't actually do it. Applying the lessons in this book will bring you, your business, and your life much more value than simply just reading the words themselves. Why outbound phone prospecting is still king. There are many ways to prospect and generate leads. You can door knock, join networking groups, engage on social media, buy leads, and send direct mail, just to name a few. They all work if you do the work, but nothing compares to direct outbound phone calls. Here's why. Number one, your energy and effort will be in the right place. With direct outbound phone prospecting, you get to decide who you call. Therefore, you will be calling prospects who you know with 100% certainty have the need to buy or sell a home. With other methods like networking, door knocking, or direct mail, it's more of a shotgun approach. You're communicating with the masses, hoping to find someone interested in selling, and hope is not a strategy. Number two, it's the most effective and efficient use of your time. For every hour you spend making outbound prospecting phone calls to a targeted list, you can literally speak to 8 to 10 of the exact prospects you're looking for. On average, depending on your sales skills, you can then generate 1 or 2 highly qualified leads as a result of these conversations in only 1 hour of your time. There's nothing, and let me repeat, nothing that can even come close to competing with these types of results. There's no magic bullet or marketing gimmick that can generate 8 to 10 actual conversations with motivated homeowners in the next 60 minutes. Trust me, if there was, you'd know about it, and so would everybody else. So the question still remains, why doesn't everyone make outbound prospecting calls? Here's the truth. It's hard, grueling, boring work that most are not willing to endure. To those who do, however, will live a life that most can only dream of. Like the great Jim Rohn said, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. This makes sense. If it was easy, you'd have a lot more agents to compete with. Even though it may not feel like it at times, only a very small portion of real estate agents actually prospect daily. Here's some proof. Go ask the agents in your brokerage or on your company's Facebook page how many agents actually call for sale by owners, expired listings, or for rent by owners every day. You'll be pleasantly surprised to find out that you may be the only one in your company willing to do the hard work. Here's the good news. If you actually do the work that daily prospecting requires, you'll be alone at the top of all the leaderboards at your company and in your market. The 4 stages of prospecting mastery. There are 4 stages of learning that everyone goes through when learning something new, and there are no exceptions when it comes to mastering the art and science of prospecting. You, like everyone who has come before you, must go through these 4 stages to reach mastery. There are no shortcuts or ways to avoid them. You must pay the price at each stage to reach the top. Stage 1, unconscious incompetence. In stage 1, you're filled with excitement to start something new, like starting a new job or new relationship. It's the excitement that sparks action. This will most likely happen as a result of this book. After going through this book, you'll likely have the motivation to get on the phone and start building the life of your dreams. You don't know what you don't know, you're just excited to get started. Stage 2, conscious incompetence. This is the stage where most quit. Once the pain or reality sets in that this is hard work and results are not immediate, you'll quickly find yourself looking for the path of least resistance. You'll find yourself looking for other things to do so that prospecting can be avoided. You'll be frustrated that you're not getting the results that you desire. It is absolutely critical, and your career depends on you pushing through this phase of deception. It's normal to suck in the beginning as you're growing your skills. It's like anything in life that you start with little or no experience. Prospecting and selling is no different. Embrace the suck and love the pain because the life you desire is waiting for you on the other side. Stage 3, conscious competence. If you're one of the few who successfully pushes through the dreadful stage 2, you'll find yourself starting to have success. It's still hard, but you're now starting to get better, generating some leads and even starting some face-to-face appointments. Although the phone still may weigh 1,000 pounds in this phase, as soon as you get past your first call, you'll find yourself starting to get results. These results will bring the excitement back and give you the motivation to keep going. Stage 4, unconscious competence. It's in this stage where you've reached mastery. You can pick up the phone, generate leads, and set appointments with ease and without very much effort. It's like driving a car or riding a bike for most adults. For example, your competence with riding a bike is so high, it's likely that you could stop what you're doing right now, go anywhere in the world, and jump on a bike and start riding without much effort. The level of mastery only comes through repetition. Although it may take you years to get here, if you don't give up, you'll get here. And when you do, you will have forgotten how hard it was to start. At this point, it's likely that your income and life are a reflection of all your hard work.